we really looked at much of the positive story yesterday, looking at some of the players sitting on the opposite end of that continuum. Today, we've got East African Breweries having declined 3.5% on Friday. Yesterday, falling back around about 4% as well to close at 210 shillings. To what extent do we read this as mere profit taking on a counter that has run pretty hard?
Well, I think for now we'd be looking more towards a shift into those companies that are going to be announcing their results very soon, and therefore I do expect that East Africa Breweries, whose results will be announced later in the year, is not one of those, and probably why we are seeing that sort of profit taking. So I think right now what we are looking at is more focus, especially on the financial sector, and a bit of those companies that will be announcing come next month, and therefore that's where the focus is going to shift.
That having been said, we've had drinks firms saying they've registered a sharp drop in sales since the bill's implementation, despite a strong rebound in the economy, which expanded 6.1% year on year in the third quarter of 2010. So that, I'm sure, a factor that the market will be watching nevertheless.
Of course, yeah, we'll be watching. For example, we did see certain stocks that were unexpected, very cyclical. Access Kenya, for example, getting some unusual action last week. And I think that we are going to start seeing different stocks, you know, taking a sort of profit taking, some of them which have been down, with investors seeing them not going any lower than that, and therefore investors taking positions in those. But I think this year will be a big dividend year, and so we'll be expecting most of the financials to do very well in the coming weeks.
Let's take a look at outside of the financial arena, because as you say, they've been very much in focus, and investors to a large extent aware of the kind of investment potential they hold. Outside of the financial sector, what are some of the stocks that are sitting on your radar screen right now?
Well, at the moment on my radar screen, I have companies like Scangroup. They did very well last year, and I think they are still on our radar screen, seeing that the mobile telephony industry is still at war, at the price war, and obviously they hold the biggest accounts in that area for marketing. I think that is one of the companies that I'd be looking very, very keenly at. I'm very interested in TPS East Africa, because TPS, we had that they're intending to come for more funds, and they are looking to expand. And with our economy doing the way it's doing, that is also showing a lot of promise. I think in the industrial sector also. Sorry.
Well, with that focus on TPS, sorry to interrupt, the big risk to the bulls in this area would be an escalation in the sovereign debt crisis in the Eurozone, where Europe is one of the key sources of tourists to Kenya and the main buyer of Kenyan flour exports and other fresh produce as well. How do you see that situation affecting sentiment within those spaces in Kenya right now?
Well, I feel that, for example, if I was going to go with somebody like TPS, they tend to be more affected by business travel. So with our economy in such an upturn, I do not expect too much effect, especially with the tourism and exports issues. But I think that would probably be affecting the agriculturals and the horticulturals. I also think that even Kenya Airways has that tendency of having a lot of business travel. That will probably cushion them from the effects of what is happening in Europe.
Well, Samuel, on the local front, where the story is a positive one, it seems, from most sectors when it comes to gains for Kenyan shares in 2011, some have cautioned against a possible curbing of those gains because of rising energy costs, and then, of course, the political uncertainty over the ICC's handling of cases related to the post-election violence of 2008. Those just two of the factors being highlighted at this stage. Do you share that kind of sentiment around concern and factors that could plague the bourse's upward rally?
Well, I think we're going to see those effects towards next year when we go towards the election. I do think that at the same time we are seeing a lot of infrastructure development, and I believe that as we go forward we'll be seeing the government try to take steps to curb the energy problems that we have and sort of try to find a way to stabilize that area. However, I think at the moment, the way things are looking, we are capable of actually surmounting most of these hiccups. And I believe that on the political front, we will be able to find some solutions, because as we go forward and as we find new obstacles, we've been seeing a sort of level of maturity appearing on the political front.